What's going on, y'all? It is officially time for my NFL draft rankings for the offensive tackles in this class. Tomorrow will be interior offensive linemen. If you have not seen, I already posted quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end, so go check those videos out. But yeah, today I'm going to give you my top 25 offensive tackles in the 2026 NFL draft. Let's go ahead and jump into it. And I'm going to be honest, there might be 6 or 7 guys that go in the first round. After that, you might see one in the fringe, second, third, and then maybe not another one till like the fifth round. It really is not a inspiring tackle class in my opinion at all. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and review some of these guys. Starting off with the bottom guys, I would say really the first notable guy would probably be Demetrius Crownover out of Texas A&M. Ethan Anyawa out of Ohio State didn't even play this past season. He was pretty much hurt the entire season. So these are his 2024 stats. You're seeing Nolan Rucci out of Penn State was all right. He didn't really allow a lot of sacks or didn't get a lot of flags, but he did give up a good amount of pressures at 16, and he's not really the strongest player in the world. He's definitely better suited for a gap run scheme, as you can see of what I put down. And I feel like my problem with a lot of these guys at the bottom are they really, really are not the strongest. They really lack, excuse me, overall anchor power to really set the line for, I mean, for the running back going outside the box and just the overall, just, I guess, holy shit. The overall, just like power in what is required to play tackle. I feel like a lot of them don't have it. Maybe potentially they could look to move inside, especially the bottom couple who are 6'5". The 6'8" monsters probably have to stay on the outside, or they could be Daniel Falele if they want to do that. But I probably wouldn't spend a draft pick on any of these guys. I would prefer them as UDFA pickups after the draft. Demetrius Crownover is someone I've seen as high as around like 10. For me personally, I'm not the highest. He's 20. The arm length is awesome. He's a solid athlete for being 6'7", 330 pounds. In terms of everything to do with actually playing football, he's not there. Like the overall power, the win rate is only a 94%, so he can get dominated at times. He allowed 27 pressures and had 11 penalties, so he is definitely very handsy and will grab you, which is okay. You don't want your quarterback getting hit, but when you're losing that many times in a season, that's not good stuff. Like that is really not good whatsoever. And I could look past this if he was 21, 22. He's 25 years old. So, I mean, what is he other than being tall and lengthy? Nothing. And he's an older prospect. So, I don't know why people are hyped. I wouldn't touch Demetrius Crownover until probably the 7th round, personally. So, just a guy I am not really high on. Tristan Lay out of Clemson is a somewhat intriguing player, 6'6", 315. Um, I don't know why I didn't grab the measurables. He definitely didn't like go. I don't think he went to the Senior Bowl, so I didn't get him there. He definitely didn't get invited to the combine. But he is a player I'm intrigued by just watching the tape and the stats. I mean, the win rate's pretty good at 97%. Only one sack alloved's not bad. Four penalties isn't the worst number compared to a lot of these tackles, and 14 pressures isn't that bad. And he played over 600 snaps, so it's not like he just was very limited in playing time. Like he got, excuse me, a good amount of reps. He was just relatively solid. I'm surprised nobody really, I mean, based on the NFL, didn't really give him the invite to come and participate in anything. I'm not saying he's the greatest athlete in the world because he's not, but he's intriguing enough to where I think a team should probably use a draft pick on him on day 3. Let's talk about some big, big boys at 18 and 17 with Markel Bell out of Miami and Travis Burke out of Memphis. Travis Burke is the new hot commodity. I mean, they're talking about Burke potentially being a 3rd round target. I know the Eagles reportedly like him a lot. And I mean, I understand why. 6'9", 325 pounds. The arm length's phenomenal for both of them. And Burke is just, I think, in much better shape. I mean, he's 35 pounds lighter. He's quicker. He's overall just faster, which combine times don't. I'm looking at your 10-yard split, and that's about it. I don't give a fuck how fast my left tackle or right tackle can run 40 yards down the field. How often do they do that? Maybe once or twice a season if a run breaks off and it was like a design screen to get them out in front. Like, I'm not worried about that whatsoever. The win rates are particularly good for both. The overall pressure rate is pretty good for both. Burke did allow 3 sacks compared to 0 for Markel Bell. Bell had one more penalty, and I mean Bell did play about 300 more snaps, so he certainly was the better player. I would say last year against better competition. I think I'm actually going to put Markel Bell up. And if you've watched the videos before, you know I am prone to doing this in terms of one or two spot flips for guys in the same tier. And I think just overall, if you look at it more like Markel Bell with the extremely long arms and just getting like the jump on defensive ends and edge rushers and getting a hold of them before they can touch him, I think is pretty valuable. So Markel Bell, I still have my questions just about overall athleticism, but Bell would be someone like I guess I could understand with him being 22 and how long the arms are in the frame, that if you took him in the 4th round, I can definitely understand why. Probably not a player I'd take till the 5th, maybe preferably the 6th round. All right, we got Diego Pounds, Jude Bowery, Drew Shelton, and I'd even toss Isaiah World into this next tier of players, 13 through 16, on the offensive line. Pretty good athletes. Isaiah World, unfortunately, isn't or not didn't test out for anything because I believe he tore his ACL in the college football playoffs. So a guy that was once thought to be, I think, for sure a 3rd round pick, likely now a mid late day 3 pick with the injury, which stuff happens. So, I mean, it's not the end all be all, but it definitely wasn't ideal whatsoever at all. Bowery, I would say, is certainly the best athlete out of the 3, but he definitely has, to me, the worst anchor as well in terms of overall play strength. He definitely gets bullied at times, and he was also banged up this past year, missed a couple games. So, that could also be a question. He also gave up the most sacks at 4. So, that, I guess, could also be alarming. And this could be another one where I mean, to me, you really got to factor in how many snaps these guys are playing in terms of when the numbers are this close. And I think Pounds, just with the overall dominating win rate over both these guys and 400 more snaps, I'm going to give the nod up to, like I said, when you see, oh my God, he moved on 14-16, he doesn't even know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, to me, it really does not make a difference at all. I mean, in my opinion, there's no difference from being 14 and 16 in these rankings because they're in the same tier. It's just, I think, personally drafting, when I really, really look in depth and look at the tape, maybe Pounds would be the guy I actually would take, regardless of Bowery and Shelton being better athletes, in my opinion, than Pounds. So it's very close, though. Tackles, like I said, Isaiah World was pretty good. Had a penalty problem with 8, but like I said, his big issue was getting hurt. His injury could drop him. Enrique Cruz was someone I really had no idea about him at all. Didn't hear much about him until the draft combine rolled around. Then he absolutely showed up and destroyed it and was one of the most athletic offensive linemen in the whole class. The arm length checked out over 33, which is typically the threshold. He's 6'6, 313 pounds. Austin Barber, I think, is in a similar tier personally for me. The overall play strength is, I think that's a big problem for a lot of these guys. The overall just anchor and play strength kind of lacks, but there's a lot of great athletes on the offensive line. Let me get a tissue. Still got a slight sickness, so bear with me. But yeah, a lot of them are pretty good athletes, got the arm length, which is good. There's been other classes before where players are just overall lacking in size. But yeah, I mean, in terms of when you actually look at the numbers, both were relatively solid past the win rate, which is an important number for me. Like, how often are you dominating your opponents? You would like that number to be over 96, in my opinion, based on the thresholds. If you look at the NFL level, really, and just successful college offensive linemen translating, but they are flying well under at around 94, which could be a problem. Some people, I think they're good enough athletes to where, like, I believe both of them are probably best suited in a zone scheme on offense, but like, I think they could be good, but like I said, I still wouldn't take them till the 5th round, and that'll stay actually the same with my number 10 overall offense lineman, who's JC Davis. At times, I thought Davis was going to move into guard, but with nearly 35-inch arms, I mean, even though he's 6'4", so he is shorter for a tackle, like he's 335 pounds. He's a good enough athlete to play tackle. And that arm length, I would at least like to try you at tackle before I just automatically kick you in. He tested relatively solid. I mean, I know there's some great athletes that don't make it look as good, but he's almost at all the thresholds. He kind of lacks in explosiveness, which you kind of see in the broad jump being 99. So really, maybe the only guy in the whole class under 100 that I thought was notable at putting. But yeah, I mean, the win rate was at least better for Davis. His penalty problem was no near as bad as Barber and Cruz being at one, which is an elite number, obviously. Three sacks is a okay number. You prefer it 0 to 2, three. It's not the end all be all. And 18 pressures is relatively average, in my opinion, for this year's class. So, in terms of production, he's kind of flying a lot with the guys that I just talked about, really 11 through, I don't know, 16 with Jude Bowery. But with that arm length, like I'm pretty intrigued by JC Davis probably overall the most. And I think he does have a little bit more power than a lot of these guys outside of like Diego Pounds. But yeah, I guess we should go ahead and talk about my top nine. And number nine is my only fourth round graded offensive lineman. Maybe. The number 8 is close to like a fringe 3, early 4, but Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame is a player I actually like a lot. 6'6", 306. I'd probably like to see him add a little bit more weight, but I mean, he's got great arm length. He's a great athlete at this size, and the overall power really isn't that bad with that win rate being over 97%. And the production really is elite for someone who played 700 snaps, being 7 pressures, 1 sack given up, and 2 penalties. So Emil Wagner really was awesome. My only problem I have, it is very clear he takes advantage of lesser talent, which, I mean, I guess you can say everybody does, but he really, really, when you start to watch the tape and you're like, or even if you want to watch the overall highlight reel of Notre Dame and the highlights of full games, like if you look at him when he's starting to face edge rushers that are going in the top 100, I would say he probably lost almost every single battle. So he definitely still has time to grow. He's what, 22 years old? Yeah. So I mean, he's young. He's got the arm length, athleticism. There is some power in his game. He's just nowhere near consistent enough to earn a top 100 grade, in my opinion. But I probably would draft him in the fourth round based on the upside I have seen. Now we're going to take a jump up to the top 8. And I think the real jump happens at 7, but number 8 is going to be Caleb Tiernan out of Northwestern. And spoiler, you might have saw 7 there. You definitely did. Oh, well, we'll talk about it in a second. Caleb Tiernan is a weird one for me because he's 6'8", 320 pounds. So you think tackle, but then the arms are a little shorter. So you might think, okay, like, does he have to play guard? But the athleticism is pretty good in terms of just explosiveness and overall play strength. So it's like Caleb Tiernan certainly to me, like if you took Caleb Tiernan in the third round, like it's not going to get a D or F depending who you might. I mean, he's probably going to be my best tackle available, I would think. So it's probably going to get a relatively high grade as long as I like the scheme. If you get him in the fourth round, I really like it. But like I said, the overall tape is pretty good. I mean, like I said, he's a mountain of a man. 6'8", 320 pounds. Kind of reminds me of Trent Brown. Maybe not Trent Brown's prime, more of like recent Trent Brown, but yeah, I mean, he's a solid athlete. He's got the play strength. I just worry about his arm length, and he really did struggle down the stretch of the season. I mean, at one point, he was like in the boat with like Caden Proctor and Blake Miller halfway through the season, and then he just fell off a cliff. He really went to shit. There's no other way to say it. Like the play, like he was just getting beat up week after week after week, and you're like, okay, so this is a day 2 potential, late day 2, early day 3 pick that you're going to have to develop a good bit. Then he goes to the combine, and his arms are shorter than what you think, and you're like, well, damn, is now he moving to the interior and being a big guard like a Mekhi Becton or a Daniel Falele? Like, I don't. There's a lot of questions with Caleb Tiernan, so that's why he clearly comes in at 8 for me. But the upside is certainly better than anyone I've talked about so far, in my opinion. Number 6 and 7, funny enough that they would be a package deal, but yeah, they are literally back to back on my big board with Max Ihenacho and Blake Miller. I've had Blake Miller over Ihenacho. I've had Ihenacho over Blake Miller. It's an ongoing argument. I think overall, even though Ihenacho is 8 pounds heavier and a little bit faster, I would say Blake Miller is overall the better athlete, but they are pretty much in the same tier. The arm length is good for both of them. I think the selling point for me is you look at the numbers. They, I think, have a similar type of power to their game. Pressures allowed were the same pretty much. Iheanacho actually didn't allow a sack. But Ian Osher did have a penalty problem, and they literally played almost the exact number of snaps, 859 and 858. So, what would be the selling point for me that guys are pretty much the same athlete, got the same production, the tape has similar problems when you watch it and similar strengths. So, what gives Ian Osher the one spot lead? I think it's the fact Ian Osher has only been playing football for like 3 or 4 years. And I think with that being said, imagine getting him with a often or a coach that knows how to develop a line or a good offensive line coach. And he's already similar to Blake Miller, who's been playing football his whole life in a similar tier. Imagine how much even better Ian Outshore can get as he continues to develop. Like me personally, if Ian Outshore can go to the Texans at 28, where he sits behind Braden Smith, or the Patriots at 31, where he sits behind Morgan Moses, like when he starts playing in 2027, because I would like, funny enough, I'd probably prefer both of them. I have more faith in Blake Miller to start day one, probably, but I'd prefer both to sit for a year and polish their game. Ian Outshore could become a monster. I mean, I think he has that type of like Armand Membu upside to his game. He's nowhere near as polished as Membu. Membu was my tackle one last year. So yeah, I loved Armand coming out of the his draft obviously last season, but like I said, that's pretty much the selling point to me is they are so similar in so many ways, but one guy's been playing football their whole life and the other's been playing for 3 or 4 years. So like you get what I'm saying? Like now granted NFL edge rushers can take advantage of Ian Osher being a way more raw player, but I think the upside enough is good enough for me to take Ian Osher over Blake Miller, in my opinion. Only time will tell if I'm right. All right, number 5 is going to be Caden Proctor out of Alabama. Caden Proctor is similar, I think, to Ian Osher and Blake Miller in a lot of ways in terms of the upside and overall athleticism and arm length. I think the selling point, though, is one, he's 27 pounds heavier, which is kind of nuts. But like the 10-yard split's not too far off. Like it's point 0.9 from Blake Miller and 1.1 from Ian Achor, so it's not too bad. He has, funny enough, a better vertical, even carrying 27 more pounds than Ian Achor and what, 35 over Blake Miller. So it's like Caden Proctor, you can just kind of see the first round pedigree, like when you watch him. I mean, I think the play strength when he really gets a hold of people is better. He doesn't have the penalty problem that the other two have, only 2 penalties. The pressures, though, he got beat up a lot, but he did play over 100 more snaps than them. So you inflate their stats, maybe that number is 17 and this is 18 or 19, and then it looks about the same. So Caden Proctor, I definitely would be the one I'm betting on the most. Ideally, to me, Caden Proctor's right off a first round grade for me. He's in my top 40, but not in the top 32. I believe he's around 37, 38. But yeah, Proctor probably should go in the first round based on the upside. And I, funny enough, think if Caden Proctor could find a way to lose 12 pounds, he could look like one of the best offensive linemen in this class. Because while he is a good athlete, and I mean, Alabama had him play tight end a couple of times, and he caught a touchdown. Funny enough, but the feet definitely get stuck in mud in times, and that's why he gives up a lot of pressures, in my opinion. So it's like, if I think he could cut down some of the body fat and just lose a couple LBs, I think you're really, and then in result of that, he gets a little more athletic, which he's already pretty athletic, but even more at 6'6", 340 pounds, like the sky is really the limit. The thing with Caden Proctor I'm not liking is I think 17 at the Lions is a good spot for him to land because they can develop offensive line really well, and they've shown that over the past really decade with Frank Ragnow, Panay Sewell. Panay Sewell was already proven, but Tate Ratledge recently and Christian Mahogany starting to look solid. So they definitely know how to develop offensive line, and they have a good system. And I want him to, he's only really played left tackle in college, so I want him to stay at left tackle. The bad part is I'm hearing rumors from multiple sources tied into the NFL on X, Instagram, wherever. I mean, at the end of the day, they are really talking to NFL teams and NFL scouts and executives. There's talk that the Browns are considering Caden Proctor sixth overall. I would hope that is a smokescreen. If you want to trade up to 15 or 16 to get him, oh well, like I'm not going to lose sleep. I get you like these type of players, but if he goes in the top 10, like then I'm really against this because to me he should be a back into the first shot, not a top half of the draft shot. All right, number 4 for me is going to be Caleb Lomu out of Utah. To me, Lomu is one of the most pro-ready players, probably third after the top 2 guys in this class. Lomu is a very good athlete. He is an older prospect at 24, but he is a pretty polished player. Um, The overall athleticism is great. He's a great mover. Of course, I think Lomu could actually project better as a guard than a tackle because he really lacks play strength, in my opinion. In that overall anchor, he's sometimes the bull rush really gives him a run for his money. Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano both just got beat like a drum by David Bailey and Romello Height when Utah played Texas Tech. So that kind of does scare you that when he plays top end talent, he kind of lacks. But I mean, overall, throughout a whole season, he was so consistent. Like, only gave up 8 pressures, 0 sacks, 4 penalties, played over 800 snaps. But then again, he is 24 years old. So you would expect that out of a 24-year-old that is thought to be a potential first round pick. Lomu feels like one of the safer offensive linemen. Like, if he can't make it work at tackle because of play strength, I think he could be a very end high guard at the NFL level. So I think Lomu will carve out a role as a starter in some capacity. Is he going to be your best offensive lineman? No. Your second best? No. If he's your worst, I think you're in a great spot. But if he's third or fourth, I think you're also in a really good spot. So that's kind of how I view Caleb Lomu. All right, number three for me is going to be Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. I like Monroe Freeling out of the project tackles between him, Proctor, Ian Osher, and Blake Miller that are thought to potentially be first round picks. Monroe Freeling to me is by far the best. To me, he's by far the best athlete. He's also big, 6'7", 315 pounds. The arm length is also the best out of any of those guys at 34 and 3/4. The wingspan's incredible. So he can definitely get his arms on edge rushers before they can get to him. He has good play strength. He has experience at both tackle spots, starting a ton of games at left tackle and right tackle. And overall, the play was just very good. I mean, he only allowed 10 pressures, gave up 3 sacks, which isn't horrible, not the greatest, but not terrible for a project deemed by a lot of people, and 2 sacks allowed. So, or excuse me, 2 penalties. Can't think straight. But yeah, like I said, for someone that played in what 469 pass block reps, that's what that first column is. Like, these are elite numbers. And then you talk about someone that's arguably one of the best athletes in the class at tackle, but he's also got some of the longest arms at tackle. Like, Monroe Freeling to me definitely is a top 25 player in this draft. And if you want to talk about Freeling going sixth, I can support that because the upside is clearly there like a Proctor, but the tape is also way better. So to me, Monroe Freeling should be the first one of those guys off the board. But my number two tackle guard hybrid is actually going to be Spencer Fano out of Utah. The arm length could be a problem, but I mean, at the combine, it was 32 1/8. He got remeasured at Utah by a professional 32 7/8. The combine's numbers have been inaccurate the past 2 years. I don't know what's going on. You need to get better people to do those jobs because they are important and they could cost these players millions of dollars based on draft capital because that's really how important this stuff is. But Spencer Fano, to me, like 6'5, 310, 21 years old. He was elite at tackle this past season for Utah. He has experience at both tackle spots. He started at left tackle in 2023, past 2 years at right tackle. He's got overall good power in his game. He is a very good athlete. Like, his only problem, in my opinion, could be the arm length. And if that really is a problem, I think Fano could be up there with Vega Ioane as the overall best interior offensive lineman in the class if you want to view him as an interior offensive lineman. So to me, Fano is someone that definitely will go in the top 15, whether that could be the Rams kicking him to center or moving Steve Avila to guard or into center, then playing Fano at left guard, or maybe Warren McClendon's not the long-term solution. The Dolphins at 11 makes a lot of sense to start him at right guard next to Austin Jackson. Then he can replace Austin Jackson. If the Cardinals trade back, then take an offensive lineman and Mauigoa's gone. Spoiler, that's going to be number one is Francis Mauigoa if you couldn't figure that out. Then I think Fano also makes a lot of sense. I have Fano as a top 15 grade in the entire draft class. So if you want to take him this high, I'm very cool with it. Like I said, top 15 grade for me. And when the only problem is 1/8 on arm length, I think that is the definition of reaching for a problem. But number one overall in the only top 10 offensive lineman to me in the entire draft class, Vega is very close, by the way, is going to be Francis Manoa out of Miami. I mean, 6'5, 330 pounds, 21 years old. He's an awesome athlete. The arm length checks out. The overall play this season was very good. Had a little bit of a penalty problem, but he also played 1,000 snaps, opposed to a lot of these people that played 700 to 800. So I also want to point that out. But the thing I love about Francis Manoa was he was like a fringe top 10 pick. Then the college football playoff started, And that's when you're playing some of the best edge rushers in the country every single round, and you're playing the best talent, and your game has to be at the highest because your team has to win. I would argue this dude played the best college football of his career in all each of those playoff games. He didn't have a down week in the entire game or the entire college football playoff stretch, and his game actually elevated. So it's like stuff like that actually does hold a lot of water to me, especially a guy that's already thought to be a mid late first round pick, and then they just dominate their competition in the biggest moments. Then that gets into the terms of, okay, maybe you are a top 10 talent because you show up when it matters most. So Francis Mauigoa will end as my overall tackle one. That's going to be my tackle rankings. Let me know what y'all think about it. Tomorrow I will be doing interior offensive line. So we got the guards and the centers. Come back for that. Would appreciate it. We're almost at 600 subscribers. So thank y'all for that. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Like I said, peace out.